Okay, so Mr. Alex Smale, thank you very much for joining me, my friend. Really appreciate your time today to talk us through your journey in your coaching business, Sell What You Know. Now, for those of you guys watching, just a brief intro of who Alex is and how we know each other as well, because we've actually been in the same business community for, I want to say about 3 years, maybe 3 years or so. And I think we met for the first time in Phoenix in Arizona, didn't we? When we went to an online business kind of conference event, a business and marketing event. And that was that was quite a fun trip. I definitely enjoyed myself. So Alex, correct me if any of this is wrong, but I believe you started Sell What You Know in April 2020. And then by December 2020, you did 143,000 USD in a month. And the month before that was 110,000 USD in November. Is that right? Yeah. And then projecting 300K month in January 2020. So, I mean, mate, that is absolutely phenomenal scale, and it just goes to show how much you can achieve in 8-9 short months if you put your mind to it. So welcome, buddy. Thank you for joining me today. It's really good to have you here. How you doing?
Good, thanks for having me on.
Awesome. You're more than welcome. So as we dive in, I wanted to really just get a bit of an idea, first of all, for everybody watching, just your perspective on kind of what was the inspiration behind starting Sell What You Know, what it is you do, and what do you reckon has been some of the factors that kind of contributed to this monumental growth that you have had?
Well, before the pandemic hit, I had a pretty good coaching business helping photographers to be more successful, because I've been a photographer for quite a few years before that. And then the pandemic hit and photographers absolutely lost the plot, stopped being able to invest in themselves at all. And that business literally died overnight, pretty much straight away. Wow. And me being me, natural born entrepreneur, I kind of had a bit of a pity party for about a day where I was like, oh my God, what am I going to do? And then I thought, you know what? I know what I'm going to do, because I actually had it in the back of my mind to do something like this for a little while, because I had a successful coaching business. It obviously made sense to help others to do the same. And so, I thought, right, I've got to do it. Let's push go. It's much more in tune with what the world needs right now. And so I put together a funnel, built it, and got our first high ticket clients within 7 days of actually pushing go on having the idea and building something. And our first month went really good. We made about 40K in the first month, which was great, but they were kind of not the best fit for what we actually wanted to do. I kind of spread the net a bit too wide and made the program a bit too cheap as well. And so what we were working with client-wise wasn't really the best fit for what I think we wanted to achieve. So I dialed it back over the summer, retuned things, and then built a new funnel and got everything really going sort of September time. And then, it's really rocketed, and we've got really great client base that are a much better fit for what we want to do.
Wow, mate, that's absolutely awesome. And I think one of the key things that I just want to pick up on here is, as you said, April 2020, COVID, pandemic, right? Crisis, your business, everything that you're doing at the moment with the Photographers Academy, just overnight gone. And that I think is a lot of our sort of worst case scenario. You know, the primary way that we're generating our income is just wiped out from under us overnight. And so given the current situation, and given that maybe a lot of people watching are wanting to start a business and wanting to create that financial independence, but it's a tricky time right now. You know, it's difficult, and there's maybe sort of a potential bit of a bleak future ahead of them. So what would you say, mate, if you were going to talk about where your mindset was at after you said, in your words, you said you had your pity party for, for a day or two, and then you kind of, got yourself into gear and just created something awesome. What would you say about that mindset shift that you had to go through to kind of go, all right, it is what it is. Let's not try and resist it or fight it, but let's move forward from here. How did that happen?
So my attitude to problem solving has always been the same. There's no such thing as a problem. There's just challenges you come across that you either go over, go around, or smash through. There's always a solution to anything you're doing. especially if you're free to just kind of let go of whatever you've had before and move on to something else. So for a long, long time, have you ever seen the film Fight Club?
Yes.
Where there's a phrase in there, it's only when you've lost everything that you're free to do anything. And I've always lived by that motto throughout my whole life. And it's all about not crying over spilt milk. Like, yeah, okay, my whole business that I had spent 3 years building meant I was making great money. I was only working an hour a week, it just died overnight. I could have spent another 6 months trying to flog it, keep it off the ground. But I didn't. In the space of 24 hours, I went, right, fine, that's dead. I'll do something else. And that was it. Like, so I think that's what holds most people back, is they kind of cling on to what they have already. They try and flog a dead horse. So if it's not working, if it's dead, if it's clearly broken because of what's happening in the world, then just let it go. Forget it. Don't worry about it. You can lose so much energy trying to resuscitate a corpse, you know? So So yeah, that ability to just be really cold and let it go and move on to something else immediately, I think is a big part of it. And also taking a look at what was happening in the world, thinking about what people actually needed rather than what they didn't need anymore, and thinking about all the skills and everything I had to offer and how to package that up and put that out there as quickly and as easily as possible. So yeah, and it was, you know, I'm literally talking, I had a pity party for about an hour. And then I was like, right, off we go. And I was actually quite grateful because I was so bored before. I was literally only working 1 hour a week, one group call. Everything else was just automated and the team were doing it. And then I was like, actually, this is quite good because I've got something to do now. And it was, you know, I don't get me wrong, it was tough. I had some really dark days through the summer where I really wasn't sure it was going to work. I was really worried about how I was even going to get through the winter, worrying if I was going to be able to pay the rent. All sorts of stuff. Like, it was, you know, there were plenty of times where it was desperate. I'm already really kind of coming out of that now that it's finally tuned and dialed in. But it was that relentless kind of not give up attitude, because I could have easily given up, but I know I was onto something good. I just had to keep going and make it work. Like, absolutely, I'm going to make this work. And that's why it's become so successful so quickly.
Got it. Awesome. And you mentioned about kind of having the skill set and focusing on providing that skill set to people who wanted to build coaching businesses. So in other words, making it about what value could you bring to other people out there in the world. So let's say somebody's they do want to start a coaching based business, but maybe there's some hesitations about, I don't know if I've got the skills yet. I don't know if I'm good enough. I don't know if I'm, you know, ready to be a coach and offer value. Like, what advice would you give to someone in that space if that's what's holding them back?
So most people start like that we begin to help. They all have that same feeling of not being sure what they could offer. And so that feeling will remain until you go through the process of actually developing what the offer could be. So we have a really great process. See, that's the first thing we do with people, is actually help them to understand all of their skills and value that they have and what they're passionate about. Because a lot of people as well will tend to gravitate towards what they think the market wants, not what they actually want to do. And so they'll end up building something they hate, not something they love. So it's very important to get a really good mix of all of those things. And it is indeed a mix, because there's obviously lots of people out there doing all sorts of things. And so every person has a unique mixture of knowledge and experience that they can share with people. And so we go through a process of helping them to understand that, understanding who it is they want to help. And then we put that into what we call an offer skeleton. So that's essentially like a skeleton structure of what a coaching offer could be for them. When they get to that point, normally the first time they do that as well, it's probably a bit boring, doesn't sound that exciting. So we tune it with them and really kind of help them to jazz it up and make it sound really exciting. Then they've got something, we're like, aha, now I get it. Now I've got something that is really going to be valuable to the world, and I really want to do it, and I can't wait to start. Everything after that is much easier.
And I suppose that, excuse me, so that just comes from starting to take those steps and starting to do this work and starting to kind of bring it all together. And then, like you say, the excitement builds because you know you're really starting to build something that's going to provide value.
Yeah.
What would you say, mate, some of the other misconceptions that you come across that hold people back from starting, or that people struggle with in the early stages?
So one big thing is that they can't understand the process for themselves. So they struggle to see the end game. And what we say is, and it's actually what we teach you guys to do as well. So we have a process which is essentially 5 steps. And we make it 5 steps because that's easy to understand, doesn't feel too overwhelming. They can see what it is. So the first step is to build an offer, and all that comes with that. The next step is to start to build trust with your audience, because you're going out to the internet and they don't know you. So we help them to build a funnel and some trust building stuff. We then help them to do their marketing, how to get good at marketing, how to get good at sales, and then how to build the program itself. And so when they go, oh, okay, I can actually see that, I can see how that would work. And it's the same with building your own coaching offer. Everyone you want to help, they're on this side of the river. They want to be on that side of the river, but they can't understand how you can help them to get across the river. So if you break it down into a nice chunkable structure, like 4 or 5 steps, you can say, well, step 1, we're going to do this. This is stepping stone 1, stepping stone 2, 3, 4, 5. People say, aha, I get it. I can see across the river, see how I'm going to do that. I can see how big and solid those stepping stones are. I can stand on that one, and then I'll get there. That's really key. So when people really can understand and believe the process, then move forward. So until they have that explained to them, until they really grasp it, that is always the biggest thing that will hold them back. And then you've got things like imposter syndrome. They doubt their own ability to deliver anything, or they worry too much about the competition out there. Or they think, well, there's loads and loads of courses already. I can't possibly hope to compete with all of that. And what they're missing is the fact that as a coach, you have that personal touch with people. You can actually show people where they're going wrong. You can say, well, I see what you've done there. You've done A, B, and C, but you haven't done X, Y, and Z. So let's fix that. Then it will work. Yeah. And that is hugely valuable. So valuable, and so scarce as well. A lot of people think, well, there's so many people out there doing already. Like, there are 4.5 billion people on the internet, right? And there's like such a tiny fraction of those people doing this. So
yeah. And then what about the belief aspect? Because you touched on that, and I think I agree that belief is absolutely key. If somebody's going to create a result and they don't believe they can do it, that's got to shift at some point. So what, Alex, has helped you, if you maybe even think back to the start of your entrepreneurial journey, or the start of your coaching business, or even some of your clients perhaps as well, like, what would you say is one of the main things, if you want to build that belief in yourself and that you want to really give yourself that, like, that foundation, that you can do this, what would you advise that has helped you develop that belief in yourself or in clients?
So like I say, seeing the path ahead, once they understand the actual value they have from building the offer is such a big one. And then flipping it around, why wouldn't it work? It's honestly, in my experience, it's one of the easiest businesses to build and run, because the profit margins are so big, and because it really doesn't take up that much time. You don't need that much infrastructure. You can actually build these things on your own, at least initially, and get, it's very easy to have a 30 grand a month business on your own without actually even spending too much time on it either. So yeah, it's, I would just have a look at yourself in the mirror and ask yourself, well, why can't you do it? There's not really anything that's holding you back. In the age of information, ignorance is a choice. It's all there to be had. All the info you need to do it is out there. It's just about believing in yourself, taking action, and just getting on and doing it, I think.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. And also, what about the technical side of things? Because I think for a lot of people it can be quite a lot of people it can be quite overwhelming to go into this online world and to start trying to figure out, how do I win clients, and what on earth is a sales funnel, and I've no idea how to make all of this happen. What would you say about, are there phases that a typical coach would go through? In other words, do they not normally start with the automation first, then it's about winning your first client? Like, what about the stepping stones of that journey is what I'm trying to get to.
Yeah,
does that make
sure.
sense?
Yeah, for sure. So what I would definitely say is, in this day and age, it doesn't make sense to try and figure it all out by yourself. Like, I never bother to do that anymore. Like, I think in 2020, I must have invested about 70K in programs like online courses, mentorship, masterminds, all that kind of thing, just because I wanted to get this going quickly. And, you've seen how quickly I've done it. It's not because I just sat down and figured the whole thing out by myself. No, I just got people to show me how to do it, and various different component parts of it, which meant I could just get going straight away. So it's always good to just go out and find perhaps someone you resonate with, or someone you believe is a good fit for you to help you to get to that place. There's lots of different ways of doing things. So just go out and find someone who resonates with how you feel you would want to do it. And then, for us, the way we help people to do it is, like I say, we have those 5 steps. So the first step is always constructing that offer, helping people to figure that out. Then we need to build trust with people. So it's the internet, it's the Wild West, and people won't just hand over big chunky money to someone they've never met before unless they trust them. So all of our whole process is all geared towards building trust and testing that trust as well, to make sure that you're working with the right kind of people. Because it sounds funny, but it isn't actually that hard to get people to hand over big chunks of money on the internet. It's actually pretty easy. What's much harder is getting people results. And one of the reasons why that's much harder is because that's only really possible if there's a really strong trust built between you and them. It's so important that we don't work with people that we don't feel trust us. We'll turn people away if we get a sense that there's not a strong enough trust with them. And we even have little tests where they have to pay little bits of money to just do little things, which if they fail those tests, they just get pushed away. And the reason for that is because if people don't trust you completely, when they come into your program or you start working with them, if they don't trust you, they'll just question everything you tell them. They'll question everything about the program, and they will cause you problems. And that's the one thing you don't want. You don't want any wasps at the picnic. So it's really important that you build a lot of trust with people, and you're only working with people that trust you. That way it's much easier, it's much more enjoyable for you. Then you've got marketing. So there's so many different ways of marketing yourself. But one thing that people miss, and I get this a lot, people say, well, I already know how to do marketing. It's like, you know how to do some marketing. Like, it's very important, like, that the marketing you're doing is very specifically tuned to the activity you're doing. And so people say, I can run Facebook ads. It's like, I don't even bother running Facebook ads. We don't do that at all. They're like, what? It's like, because what we do, the trust building, starts with the whole marketing process. And so, so never kind of feel that you know everything. Never go into it feeling like, well, I don't need to know that. I don't need to that. Like, I never think that. I'm always like, teach me, like, because if someone else is doing it a different way, then that's something I don't know, so always embrace that. Sales is the next big thing, because once you've got interested people, you need to turn those people into paying clients. And again, that comes from building trust. Like, you never want to sell people, because people hate that. And it's never your job to sell people. It's your job to help people to make the right decision for them. And if that just so happens to be working with you, and that's really obvious for everyone involved, then people will move forward. But if you're hard selling people and pushing people to work with you, you just create a problem for yourself. You don't actually get a client, you just get yourself a problem. So it's never worth doing it. So you just want to have a really open, friendly chat with people, help them to understand the options for them, help them to understand what's going to be a good fit for them, and be really authentic about that. Everyone on our sales team is very much signed up for that. And they know if they bring in people the wrong way and they're hard sold, they'll be off the team, because we just don't want that to happen. And then you've got to build the program itself. So this is where a lot of people get scared. They're like, whoa, like, I need to have a course built first. I need to have all this stuff. And like, no, you don't have any of that. In fact, it's a bad idea to build a course first. This is one of the biggest objections and things that I hear from people about becoming an online coach. because you could like, and a course will take you like 4 to 9 months on average to build out, right? A really good course. And you could do that, spend 9 months building a course only to find out that nobody wants it because you've got it completely wrong about the needs of the audience or the market or all those sorts of things. So the best thing you can do, and this is why coaching is a great offer for all sorts of people, is because you can just start straight away. You can just start by offering your time. You can sell people an hour a week with you personally, and then grow from there. And what will tend to happen is you'll have similar conversations with people. They'll ask you the same questions over and over again. And as that starts to happen, you can create little training videos that answer those specific questions that you keep hearing. And over time, that will build and build and build until, instead of you having these same conversations over and over again, you can just send people through your training, which is perfectly tuned to what people want because it's based on the questions that people have asked you. So you know it's exactly what people need. And then you can add in easy value like Facebook groups, group calls, portals, that kind of thing. All easy stuff to build in, but it gives you much higher perceived value. So when you've done those 5 things, then you've really got a great coaching business that, you could build to whatever you want it to be, really.
Got it. So what I'm hearing there is that if someone's like in those very early stages and let's say they're just about to launch a coaching business, a lot of the time we don't need to overcomplicate it. You don't need to build an entire course. You don't need to, get all the tech and automation stuff all lined up straight away. You don't need to create Facebook groups and grow a team and everything. You literally just need to find some people you want to help and then offer your time to help them. And then through that process, you'll learn what they need. That's going to give you the ideas and the questions and the objections to then create your course. And by that point, you're already up and running because you're getting the feedback from just focusing on helping and serving people. And I suppose that all goes back to that trust. If you're building that trust that you talk about, which I agree, again, is absolutely key, that's going to come from just your intention being to serve, to provide value, to help, and then just be willing to put yourself out there to do that.
You don't even need a website. You don't even need, like, when I first started, I didn't have a website, didn't have a bank account, didn't have any recorded materials. All I had was Zoom. I just jumped on calls with people because I had the knowledge, I had the ability to solve their problem.
Yeah.
That's all you need.
Got it. Wow. Okay. Now, I think that's so powerful, really, really powerful lesson there. And I call this a minimum viable product approach. And I think we've actually talked about this before, haven't we? MVP approach, just go, just go and help people. And we need to get out our own ways. Really powerful. So Alex, if you were to give one final bit of advice to somebody who is in these early stages and there's something going on, like maybe a limitation or a belief or imposter syndrome or something that's holding them back from starting, and they're hearing what we're talking about here, they're hearing what you're sharing and thinking, all right, okay, I get it. I just need to get started. I just need to go and help people. What would you say are the next 1, 2, 3 steps that someone should take to go from here and really start getting some momentum?
Well, like I say, find yourself a mentor, someone who can show you the steps and take all the guesswork and pain out of it. Don't doubt yourself. There's no real reason why you can't do this. Like, looking at our client base, it is so crazy diverse. Like, the subjects that people coach on, you would just not believe. Like, people say, oh, what's your kind of main, like, what coaching niche you help people with? It's like, I'm not even sure we've got 2 of anything. Like, they're all completely different. Like, we've got some guy coaching on physics, another guy coaching on giving better, like, how should we put it? Like, experiences for ladies in bed. We've got people doing, just like, oh my gosh, like such a random mix of things, like creativity, meditation, recruitment, like esports, like literally everything. It's just,
I was in a mastermind last year, and there was a lady who was a coach. She used to coach people on how to become better belly dancers. I was like, wow, that's niche.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like, as long as you're 2 steps ahead of someone else, there's a need for it. The thing to think about is this, like, you want to think like a dentist, right? If there was only one dentist in the world, after, you know, the pandemic has wiped everyone else out,
yeah,
you had a toothache, what would you pay that dentist to fix that toothache? You pay them whatever they want, because they're the only person who can solve that problem for them. So you just want to think about, you're here, they want to be here, like, what is the solution that you can provide them in the middle that's going to really change their life? And I tell you what, it's one of the most rewarding things for that reason as well. Like, helping people solve their problems is just such a great thing to do.
yeah.
Money pays the bills and everything. I know we've talked a lot about money today, but it isn't actually what drives me. What really drives me is the results we see people get, seeing how they really change their lives, how they've grown as people. And for me, I'm really lucky because we get to have impact on these people in our immediate vicinity. But what's really great is the impact that they go on to have with all the people that they help. And so to be in that place, to be able to have that kind of ripple effect is, it's unbeatable. Never gets old. So think about that. Think about who's out there right now that needs your help, that is desperate to have this problem solved, and who you could actually solve that for them. It's your duty to actually build something and to help them overcome that. You know, it really. So yeah, and it's such a great feeling, honestly.
I love that, mate. No, I love that. All right. So what I'm going to do then is, if anyone's watching this and they're like, okay, this Alex guy, I feel like I need to learn from him. I think it's, he clearly knows his stuff and he's clearly helping a lot of people. I'll pop a link probably just below this video. I think if we do scrapthe9to5.com/SWYK. So that's, you know, your business as an acronym, scrapthe9to5.com/SWYK. If anyone wants to find out more about Alex, just go to that link and that'll give you, we'll put a load of information on that page that will help you start your business with Alex's expertise and advice. Alex, thank you so much, mate, for your perspectives, your thoughts, sharing your journey, sharing your results, hopefully inspiring people watching that, you know, April 2020, starting the business from scratch, and then November doing your first 100K month, December 143K is, you know, absolute phenomenal result. And I think from this conversation today is evidently clear why you've created that result in your business. So, mate, thank you so much. Appreciate you, and we'll speak soon.
You're welcome.